Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the classic Twilight Zone. It's Season 1, Episode 14. It's called Third from the Sun. And right before we started, I sang the entire opening theme song of Third Rock from the Sun to get it out of my
You
system,
really did.
so that I wouldn't do it on the rest of the show. So, you're welcome, everyone. Tara took one for the team,
Hmm.
as it were. So yeah, full spoilers for the episode as always, but it's impossible not to think of that show when you hear this title. I think you'd agree.
I do agree.
Yeah. So this one is about a an engineer. We'll call him an engineer who works on bomb parts. Who is a part of a big scheme to help build what sounds like atom bombs and hydrogen bombs and all sorts of nuclear devices. And him and his buddy, who is a pilot, who's been test piloting some new aircrafts, are planning to escape because they have it on the grapevine that in the next 48 hours, their country is going to launch their nukes at the enemy, and do expect that there'll be a retaliation and there's going to be something of a nuclear holocaust. And they want to get out. They want to run and hopefully get into this aircraft and get somewhere else. And I chose my wording very carefully as I was describing that plot, because I think we can't not talk about the whole thing without just talking about how it ends and
Yeah.
where we actually are. Because, well, let me ask this to you: at what point in the story, if before the ending that is, did you realize where we weren't?
I will tell you honestly, the episode got me. Like
Really?
I didn't know until the
Okay.
end. Yeah.
Um.
And I should have been suspicious. I did kind of I did notice the spaceship.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I kind of made a mental note of the spaceship, but I didn't like
So
yeah, I didn't actually make the connection till the end.
as soon as they talked about leaving the atmosphere, as soon as they talked about getting out of space, I remembered
Hmm.
the title of the episode and said, I know what the ending of this is. They're going to
Hmm.
Earth. They're not on Earth, they're going to Earth. And I got a smile across my face because I like that twist. Even though I figured it out, I like it. I like that being the swerve. And especially since there's this sad like sort of thing to, because obviously like you start this episode and you feel like, oh, this is talking about, at the time very relevant Cold War nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Everyone's scared of it, right? There's a really dark, sinister irony to this episode. It's like when they get to Earth, it's not going to be that different.
Yeah, right. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. It's
Oh.
yeah, it's an immigration episode. I didn't know.
No, it's a really smart little
It
episode.
totally got me. I think it shows um I think they really did a good job like just keeping me just into the story of them.
Of escaping, yeah,
It just
because
seemed like yeah, it just seemed like another American story about how people are scared of nuclear weapons, and I
yeah,
just thought that's what this was.
but with the
I did notice a
one,
lot of the camera angles were like they really stood out to
oh,
me.
I was going to bring this up. This is definitely the most stylized episode yet in terms of
I
direction.
think so. Yeah.
There's a lot of Dutch angles, and it added a lot to the scenes. You know, when Sturka comes home, the main character, and he's talking to his daughter, and they sit down on the couch at one point. The wide shot is this really like tilted shot, and it gives it
It's uneasy.
that's the exact word. It's uneasy. Yeah, it makes you feel uneasy, even though she thinks everything's okay, at least so far. He's
Mhm.
nervous. He's uneasy. The one element here, perhaps, that I think I want to talk about before we just talk about the fancy sci-fi part of it that is really cool, is there's a character called Carling who he meets at the start when he's leaving work, and then it turns out he's kind of like gets suspicions that he's going to try and run, and he's spying from outside early on. And then during the card game with the other couple that they're going to leave with and try and run away with, he shows up to like just kind of under the guise of a friendly chat, but he's really
Mhm.
there to inspect them. And I'm like, okay, as far as I know, there was no like, oh, like you're not allowed to leave if you suspect there's a nuclear bomb coming like attitude. So I kind of
I
want
was
to
a little confused by his character, to be honest.
because well, I mean, you could read it just as simple now that we know on our planet that things are a little bit different. But I think I want to talk about what
Yeah.
he represents, because it's definitely much an allegory for, what's really going on in the world at that time. I want to talk about, what does he represent? This feeling that you can't get away, this feeling that you're trapped there, and that there's no. Is it that simple as just like, okay, there's nothing physically stopping you from leaving the country because you think you might get nuked, but like, what is actually, does this just represent the fear that you're trapped anyway? Because it's not easy for people to just pick up and go necessarily, right? You can't just run off to Canada at the first, sign of trouble.
Sure, I guess. I thought maybe he was just added as an obstacle just to make the show a bit more dramatic. I don't know if he really represented anything else. I mean, maybe he does. I'm not getting it, but I thought his motivation was kind of strange,
Let's
to be
assume.
honest. He seemed like a work friend, but then he. Okay, yeah.
Well, let's talk it out. Let's talk it out, right? So let's assume that it does represent something. Let's talk it
Okay.
out. So read it. What does he do? What does he represent in the show? What does he do to the characters? He is an obstacle for sure, but the main thing he does is that he is kind of the suspicious set of eyes that makes them paranoid. It makes them do this on this, and in secret, almost in like a kind of Gestapo sort of way, where they have to sort of like turn something up to make sure they're not being listened to, and they have to, sneak around. It has to. It's something they're not allowed to talk about.
But he knows that the world is ending also, or there's going to be nuclear war happening, and he seems kind of excited about it.
Yeah. The idea that he is almost the patriotic one, because he's accepting that this is an acceptable loss, an acceptable risk, that X amount of the country is going to go up, and I think there's something to be said in there. This idea of sneaking around, the idea of if you speak out against the possibility of this, then you're not patriotic enough, because you're not like siding with the home team, as it were. You're being too critical. Because he says, be careful what you say and be careful what you think at the start of the episode. So,
Oh, okay. Maybe they are, because they are aliens. They can, I don't know. Maybe they're able to know what someone's thinking.
but yeah, it wasn't so much getting. It was more the intentions of like what it might lead to if he's thinking these
Right.
thoughts. It's what might he do. So you don't think he represents anything?
I thought he was a strange character to add, and he was just there to add something extra about. I mean, because to extend the time, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, you might in essence be right, actually. You might in essence be right. And you're actually a touch too loud. I just noticed that. I'm just going to bump you down just a little bit.
Probably picking up all the rain.
Yeah, Tara was being very loud a minute ago. I apologize for that, folks. So, no, like I think you might in essence be right, but if you are right, I think it's actually successful, because he adds a lot of tension, specifically when he comes over and like they've got the little like map out of where they're going, and he picks it up and is reading off the other side. And like moments like that, and I actually quite like the actor. I thought the actor did a really good job of being a little cartoony, sure, but like
He was menacing.
he was menacing in a kind of comical way, and it was kind of making it work for me.
They're all clearly afraid of him. Like, I don't know who he was to them, if he's some kind of authoritative figure in the company that they work for.
See, I got the impression he wasn't. I got the impression he was really just a lone wolf who, like, just really believed in what his company and what the country was doing. And
Okay.
their fear of him specifically is just the fear of everyone. Like, anyone could ruin this for them. Anyone could rat them out. Anyone could stop them from getting out and getting away from the assured destruction.
I still don't understand why he did say, like, look, this is my house, and I don't really want you here, so why don't you? I'm trying to have a nice time with my family. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
He thinks that might be suspicious, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, did you like this episode?
I did, actually.
Oh, good, because
Because of the ending happened, and I went, oh, third from the sun, of course.
okay, I'm just checking, because so far you're fighting me on a lot of this.
No. I do really like this episode. I think it's really great, actually.
Yeah, because I like all the actors for the most part, and just because I think this has a really neat ad break kind of moment, because it's like, okay, it's him going home, telling his wife, like telling the daughter to not go on her date, stay home, kind of thing, But it ends with a scene where Jerry comes over and they do the whole thing where they turn on the machine, so in case anyone's listening, and like it ends with Carling's like peeking over the window, like he's there, he's trying to listen. How much did he hear? We don't know, but he's trying to. He's definitely suspicious. I mean, he's definitely very dedicated to this because, he sees him in the morning, he has that one conversation that makes him doubt him. He's sneaking around his house, he comes over that night, and then eventually he's the guy who's waiting for them at the airfield, kind of like,
With a gun.
With a gun, yeah.
He's not going to let them enter.
He's really determined. So I actually quite like this character. I admit he's kind of a weird character, and again, he doesn't really fit into like the real version of this so much, but I think he's there to represent just the fear and the doubt that you can actually get away, or that there is no escape, if there is even an escape in real life. Like I guess other countries might be safer, but like who's to say they're not next? Like who knows?
Right.
You're trapped here on this rock. We're screwed if this happens. We're all screwed.
Yeah. And I brought up the spaceship earlier. The spaceship looks like
a classic
flying saucer, like a UFO. Which after you get the twist, it's like, oh, of course it is, because I thought it was such an odd choice for them to use something that looks so alien.
Yeah, well, because for me that was the confirmation. That was like when I saw that, I was like, yeah, they're going to Earth. Like that's the whole. But because when I had the thought they're going to Earth, I'm like, yeah, at no point have they mentioned where they are. They've not talked about their country. They've not talked about who their enemy is. They've not talked about... You
just assume it's the United States.
Just assume it, because when you think about the character of Carlin, if he's like, nah, that's unpatriotic, like, don't think like that, he would totally use the word American at some point. Now, be a good American, or he'd say something of that nature, right? He would totally find...
He doesn't even talk about patriotism, but that seems to be... That would probably be too much also.
Yeah.
But that seems to be what he is representing, is the people who stay and believe in the choices of the government.
Yes.
I'm stand behind it.
I'm tempted to say something controversial, but I'm not going to. I did notice that Sturka had a very funky telephone, especially for the time period.
Yeah, but I still think that is something that existed.
Oh sure, yeah. I'm not saying that was a kind of intentional. Oh, we're on an alien planet. Like the phone's a bit different. Because I was actually going to question at the end, because he says, oh, like we're going to the third planet from the sun. They call it Earth. I was going to question how he knows we call it that, but he did say earlier on in the episode, Jerry, that we've picked up transmissions here or there, and they have a similar language to us. Now, is it a coincidence that they're speaking exactly English? Sure.
Sure. That's okay. I don't need that. I like the idea of the UFO landing in like Roswell and then human beings walking out of it, but they're aliens. I like that visualization,
Sure, yeah. It isn't actually, because I do remember another episode, probably from season 2, that has a kind of similar twist, actually.
Yeah, I don't think this is the last time we'll see that twist.
It turns out that we're not, the characters aren't the humans after all. It's the other people who are the humans, and this is an alien or something like that. Yeah, there's definitely this twist kind of happens again. Honestly, though, the episode that I'm thinking of that I remember fairly well is so different. There's 2 episodes from season 2 I think I remember very clearly. One is where you don't see faces for the whole thing, and it's a very good episode. I'm excited to get to that one when we get there. And then,
is it Eye of the Beholder?
I think that's what it was called, yeah. Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah,
and then,
I know that one.
Yeah, and then the other one is the one that's got a similar twist to this. But the actual plot of the episode's way different. It's just,
Okay.
It could almost be a sequel to this one, if they rejigged it a little bit, actually, now I think about it.
Well, this one will probably stick with me for a while, because I did really enjoy it.
I think this is one of the best episodes we've had.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's really simple. It takes like the fears of the time. It almost is a straight story just about them, but it has this neat twist that recontextualizes it and says, "Hey, this place that they're coming from, it was actually closer to Doomsday than we were, and they're coming to us for refuge. Maybe we should actually take the lesson here and be better, because there's a nice enough message. This might even be the most clearly political, like, of the time message that any of the episodes have had. It seems like really straight to the point. Now, admittedly, we were watching this in 2019. Neither of us were even close to being born when this aired, so we've probably missed some political messages that might have been relevant at the time. We absolutely could
Sure.
have, but watching it now, this is the feeling I'm getting from this.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that is when we watch, old science fiction films from the 50s too. I mean, that's what they talk about is all still nuclear war, the power of the atom, or even the Chernobyl series that we're watching on HBO. It's about man's hubris of thinking it can
Yep.
be in control of this impossible amount of power, and that it should be something that should be feared and respected. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I like this one a
I
lot.
mean, it's still relevant. It's still something we use, and we don't, you know, Fukushima happened recently, and it's still something that we need to think about. And there's still people in power who like to wave the flag of nuclear power. You know,
Yeah. You say you're
not
actively
as it's
against?
not as far or distant past as we would like to think.
Are you actively against nuclear power?
Uh, I can tell you that watching Chernobyl has given me a new type of fear I didn't know I had.
I I
But I am
actually,
not against nuclear
yeah,
power. No.
I'm not either. I think like clearly it should be respected, and I think learning lessons from these disasters is something, it's like, no, you understand what went wrong and you make sure it doesn't happen again. Because watching Chernobyl on HBO and learning about how that was handled and how long it took and how,
Mhm.
again, the hubris of like, no, it's not that bad, like that attitude for the first little while,
Right.
and how badly it almost ended up. Like it's yeah, I like it's definitely something that should be treated properly. But nuclear power is actually, despite the fact that it can go very wrong in those circumstances, is actually much
Mhm.
better for the planet if working properly.
Sure, it's cleaner.
Yeah.
It's not free, of course. There is a cost, and there is nuclear waste that we
Hmm.
have to deal with. But
Yeah.
yeah, nothing is free in
Hey.
nature.
Oh, hey, I'm all for the solar panels, right? Everyone just get solar panels. It's fine. Like,
Me too.
it's fine. No, it was just the way you phrased that. I was like, are you actually against nuclear power in general now, or yeah? Uh, this episode, of course, is not talking about nuclear power. It's talking about nuclear weapons specifically.
Sure.
And because I mean that's the other thing at the start is that Carling is very enthusiastic about the idea of like, oh, we're going to strike first and we're going to wipe them all out,
Yeah, and then our lead guy is like, "Well, sure, but then what happens next?"
Yeah.
Like,
And that's not even get into the debate of like, yeah, okay, sure, the government in this enemy state, whatever it
Mhm.
is maybe evil and maybe you think they need to be dealt with, but the millions of lives that live there, presumably, are they all like fair game to kill? Like, call me a touchy feely
Hippie.
sympathetic baby or something, but I don't know. I don't necessarily think that everyone in the opposing country is guilty of being, you know, evil. I guess.
I think most people would say that, yeah,
Yeah,
civilians.
most people would say that. Um,
Yeah,
because if they retaliate, I'm the one who's getting killed here. Not
sure.
not
Yeah.
not the leader in the bunker.
Did this episode kind of remind you of the new Twilight Zone episodes too? I had
um,
flashes of it. I mean, we had an immigration episode.
sure. Yeah, but this was way better.
Oh, by a long shot.
Yeah, not even it wasn't even close. That this like had its statement, but it took its time and it just like dealt with the idea of someone on the run. Like it was very
Sure.
simple
And
setups.
they kind of made the point at the end of the episode instead of like right in the beginning.
And the point hit home. It's a great, honestly, like as much as they use it a few times, it's a great little twist. Like
It
it's
is.
good. And I
And it
get
got me.
I guessed it like fairly early on, and I was still into it. Like it still
I was
worked.
wondering if this episode would be very rewatchable if you knew the ending.
It was because I think what made it work is that it made me like sort of look at things in a different context, and I was sort of analyzing like, okay, this isn't Earth, so what are these people
Yeah.
like? Why is it so similar? What are the
Yeah.
clues that it's not Earth? Like I was looking at it from a different lens, but it definitely still
Well, speaking
worked.
of lens, I thought maybe that's why they were doing all the Dutch angles too. Not just because it's a uneasy feeling, but also it is very much it's looking through the lens of us, but it's slightly off. something slightly different, much like the Twilight Zone is supposed to represent.
That was a perfectly good bit of analysis. So you didn't
I
back
knew you'd
me.
get something good from me out of
Yeah.
this
Well,
episode.
you didn't back me in any of my analysis of Carling, so I'm glad that you came in with something else towards the
Yeah, I don't
end.
know. I'm just not buying it. But I do still like his character in it because it does offer an obstacle.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't know if I don't know how much he represents. He could represent like the patriotic side, like you said, or the side that says that's excited by nuclear war. But I don't know those people.
I think the first thing I said though that I still think is actually the most relevant is not even like representing people specifically, just the idea that you're trapped and can't get out.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, he represents the paranoia that they feel that somebody is going to find out.
Yeah, and someone is going to stop them. Someone is going to say no, you can't leave.
Right.
So I think that's effective. So
I did really like the dialogue in this episode too. Like the scene between the father and his daughter Jody, I thought was really good, and it was like a nice, sweet back and forth. She seemed like a real person, which is not always something you get.
Oh sure, yeah.
When people are writing, teenagers or
although
or
I will
children.
say maybe this is just a time period thing. Maybe in 1959 this was or I think we're into January 1960 now. But regardless, I can't imagine a teenage girl her age saying, "But Dad, what about our dance?" when they're at home and there's no reason to dance.
It's true, but maybe we didn't have a loving family like they did.
True.
I often find myself doing that, like, oh, my mother would never hug me.
I never asked my father to
I'm the
dance when I was
That's right.
15. And you come from Canada land where everyone's supposed to be really nice all the time.
No, it's cold up there. Cold people.
Movies and TV are a lie. It's actually a breakneck world. It's more like a dystopia. People they like to pretend it's not. They keep it all pretty and snowy, and it's like, oh, look at all these trees. Look at the moose. Look at the moose. Isn't the moose cute?
We haven't forgotten the maple syrup wars of '67.
Do you know? It's funny you say that. No, I stopped watching the show because it was just batshit insane and trashy. I kind of enjoyed some of season 1, but Riverdale, there was actually like the rich family. Their fortune came from maple syrup, I think it was, and it wasn't
That's so cute.
and it wasn't set in Canada, but there was actually some sort of like industrial like rivalry with someone, and I remember referring to it as the maple syrup wars. You reminded me by saying that.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it made me laugh when I was watching the show. I was cracking a lot of jokes about how there was these maple syrup wars, because
Sounds delicious.
it was like yeah, the two families had a rivalry about it like 100 years ago, and this one family screwed over the other family. So the family who lost are still live in the town. Like the descendants are really bitter about it, and it's like so it was maybe it was more of a maple syrup blood feud than it was a war. But anyway, yeah, it's a silly show. I read like a summary of what happened in season 3, which just finished, and I couldn't believe like the weird shit I was reading. Like someone died and came back to life, and this is not a supernatural show. This is supposed to be just a thriller.
Isn't Sabrina a spin-off of it?
Not really. Like in the comics it is, but and the shows are just separate.
Oh, I thought they were kind of linked together, but I haven't watched any of Riverdale, so I don't know.
The only way they're linked is that they've kind of mentioned there's a Greendale nearby, and then I think Sabrina's mentioned there's a Riverdale nearby. But other than that, like there's no.
Okay.
There's no. Sabrina is way more realistic.
Interesting.
That's what I'll say. I tapped out early season 2 because there's like a serial killer going around, which sounds great for me. I'll watch a plot with that. But Archie, or teen throb, or heartthrob teen hero, got the football team together and recorded a video saying that they were going to protect the streets, and they did this with the entire football team topless, all wearing red GIMP masks. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I'm out of the show. I think I'm out of the show.
Well, let me know what season the Predator shows up, because that's the only Archie comic I ever read was the Predator crossover.
Hey, I will start watching again if they say Predator's going to show up. If there's going to be a Predator cameo, I'll watch again.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this Twilight Zone was really good. It was really good.
Mhm.
The tease for next week at the end. I'll get the name up actually, so I don't.
Is that arrow shot an arrow into the air?
I shot an arrow into the air is the exact title.
Yeah, I know it because I think I remember this one.
You remember this one? So he mentioned shooting a spaceship into, and I thought that was weird because we just literally had a spaceship. I guess
They do that on the show, don't they?
my only critique actually, the spaceship stuff, really. I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention about it. Is that it just kind of like cuts from them entering it to them being in space. There's no takeoff.
You know what I liked about it though, and I looked it up.
Oh yeah.
The sound was very familiar. The sounds that the spaceship made from the inside.
Can I take a
It's yeah. Go ahead.
guess? Was it Day the Earth Stood Still?
No, it's Star Trek, the original series.
This is before Star Trek though.
Yeah, it's the same sound effects though.
Really?
Star Trek used these sound effects, yeah. And I
Ah,
looked it up to make sure. I'm like, yeah.
because I'll be honest, the thought crossed my mind. I went, no, it can't be because Star Trek was after. So fair
Yeah.
enough. That's they used them for. So Star Trek stole sound effects.
First William Shatner, now it's sound effects. Yeah.
Surely Shatner's not the only person from Star Trek who shows up.
No, we've had others so
Yeah,
far.
like guest stars and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised you've not been pointing them out. Your
Well, I
Trekpedia
mean, not every
knowledge.
episode, or there are some that I've missed.
Sure, sure. Feel free to shame her whenever there's a Star Trek cameo that she doesn't catch.
Oh.
Because you're supposed to be the Star Trek expert. Hey, if someone from Buffy shows up, I'll I'll point it out.
You got it. I'll step my game up.
I'm feeling pretty good about me not having to pay attention though, because most of the people in Buffy weren't born yet. So
Yeah. I would call myself more of a Deep Space Nine expert, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of connections there.
that's true. That's fair. That's fair. So yeah, we got another spaceship. I'll read the description on IMDb just to sort of set us up for next week. Order breaks down between 3 surviving crewmen whose rocket ship crashes in an unknown world with limited water and supplies. I think I might remember this actually.
Yeah, I think I know which one this is too.
Okay, I'm going to make a prediction for the twist. So if you don't want to hear my prediction,
Don't do it.
what? Come on, let me predict it.
It's so obvious.
It really is obvious, but I want to make a point. Okay, I'll say it next week. But I wanted to make a point based on comparing it to this one's ending.
Yeah.
Right? I'll say it to you after we've done recording. What the exact phrase I want to say, but I just want to say there's a comparison to be made. Anyway,
Oh my God. I was wrong. Doing the Simpsons song.
okay. So that's the Twilight Zone, episode 14. We'll see you next time for episode 15, which for the record is the last episode on disc 2 of the Blu-ray. So next episode is the last one, disc 2. So I'm looking forward to that. There is 5 discs in total, so we've got a lot to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can get us on the Twitters at mailed_first for channel updates. If you want to watch other content we do, what would you recommend, Tara? What would you promote and say, hey, check out this stuff?
Well, let's see. We've already advertised our Chernobyl, and did we advertise the Ace yet?
Not the ACE, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. There was a lot of talk of atomic energy, but not the
You're right.
podcast.
Yeah. Both Peter and I do a science fiction movie review show called The Ace, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. So if you like old films and new films, we do them all. Check it out.
Yeah, so that is us. Me and Cara also do Star Trek reviews. We're by the time this goes up, we should have finished Next Gen season 1, and we'll be in our
Ooh,
couple,
exciting.
couple of week hiatus before we start season 2. So
I expect a breakdown of the best and worst.
we'll be doing that. We're going to do a top 5 and worst 3. I think that's what we did for the original series. So we'll do that for each season of Next Gen. I'm looking forward to it. So and at the time of recording, the next one I think is a biggie. Based on the IMDb rating and based on something Tara said. In fact, Connor yelled at you at the end of the Star Trek review that we recorded today because
Is it conspiracy?
it is conspiracy. Because I
It's a good one.
Tara hyped this one up, and he yelled out, "Tara, stop giving him hints and teases. I don't want him having an advantage."
Oh, come on. I know that season 1 can be kind of a slog to get through, so I just wanted to sprinkle in a little bit of goodies at the end.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm
It's
looking forward to it.
so much fun.
We record this a little bit further ahead in Trek though, so by the time this goes up, that episode review will already be up. So,
Yeah.
timeline wonkiness. But yeah. Also, if you want to support the show, where can they do that, Tara? Where can they support the show?
You can check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/MildfuzzTV. You can donate as little as $1 per month, and with that dollar, you get extra goodies, such as these Twilight Zone episodes a week early, and you get bonus episodes of the Ace, the Atomic Cinema Experiment, which we already mentioned, and Screams After Midnight if you like horror. And do you do one for Influx?
A bonus episode?
No, you don't do those.
No. We do
But
the
you do
vote.
get the week early.
Yeah.
You get to vote.
Yeah. All the movie shows get votes once per month, and 2 of them get bonus episodes. Influx doesn't get a bonus episode because we struggle to do that every week. So
Yeah.
we're not promising a fifth one.
You guys have a
month.
lot to get through.
Yeah, although Connor keeps backing out of TV shows because he's got bad taste, and Tara keeps like taking them over. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm the backup plan.
Yeah. Hey, a lot of comments think you should be the A plan, the primary plan.
They're wrong.
I mean, what's the
A team?
Yeah, but if you say the B, the plan B, then yeah, the phrase would be plan A. But what's the
I
plan?
don't like that phrase plan B for me.
I guess it's just the plan. So, some like you more than Connor, naturally, and they wish you were the plan rather than the backup plan.
I disagree.
Basically, I just like shitting on Connor. So if you want to make fun of Connor in the comments, please feel free. I'm okay with it.
You can still say nice things about me, but you're wrong.
I mean, you can still say nice things about Tara. You can definitely say things about me. I'll take all the compliments. But the ones that I might frame and put in the wall are the ones where you're nasty to Connor. My favorite one recently was on the second Chernobyl review. Someone said Connor can suck my hairy balls, and
Jesus.
I love it. I'm going to put it in the wall.
Not necessary.
Oh, it's delightful though. Anyway, that is us. That has been Twilight Zone. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys, in the Twilight Zone.